Alright, welcome back. We are here this week. It is October the 13th, a Sunday. Sorry we're running behind.
14th.
It's the 14th now. Merry Christmas.
Yeah,
Happy
right.
Columbus Day. The Halloween month, so we are picking horror film, scary movies, thrillers, whatever you like, whatever your tastes are. It was my pick this week. I did Jacob's Ladder.
Had you never watched it yet?
I've seen parts of this movie.
Oh, okay.
I hadn't seen enough of it to formulate a sound judgment of what the film was going on. So I always wanted to do it. And then Dave always had me so scared about this film, thinking it would be some super scary thing. So I was always waiting for somebody to want to watch it, and nobody ever wanted to watch it until now. Because I know you didn't have a choice.
I had heard horrible stories.
Yeah, I
about
thought
it.
like it was going to be like the scariest movie I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I was really prepared to come
And
in.
it was-
I was going to get spooked.
And I felt like I was like a chick flick in some parts. I'm like, my emotions getting torn in between. I'm feeling this guy. Like, oh man, dude, he's like gotta make amends and like say he's sorry and like move on from purgatory.
Yeah.
That's a lot to take in, man. That's a lot to take. I wasn't expecting that, man. It's hit my emotions. You know, so man, it was great. It was a good film. But anyway, Roger hadn't seen the film,
Yeah,
correct?
I've seen it.
So, Roger, what'd you
Well,
feel?
I enjoyed the movie.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good. I like the cast. Tim Robbins is always fun to watch. Macaulay Culkin was a nice surprise. Being Range, I love his voice. So it was a good cast, and it was interesting. I really enjoyed it. The narrative being spliced up the way it was. And he was at one point, he was happy if he's with the wife and the kids. That was what he wanted. That was actually what he was holding on to. Because he wanted to be there.
Yeah, but he was flashing back to before Vietnam, right? That was how it was before he left for Vietnam, when he had his kid alive. The only time you see his...
I don't see it that way. Well,
Okay.
I don't see he went to Vietnam after he had a wife and 3 kids.
That's what the...
He went to Vietnam. Like he got drafted, I believe, right? Or not?
I thought he goes to Vietnam, comes back, gets the wife, and has 3 kids, and then ends up losing them and goes to this other woman.
I think he was married before Nam.
Before Nam.
Because his kid dies before Nam, I think. Because he only goes to Nam for 2 years.
He never comes back from Nam.
Yeah, he never
dies
comes.
in Nam.
I know.
Never comes back from Nam.
I know.
I don't believe he ever had the family.
The family was never real.
That's what
Right.
I thought.
Okay.
I thought he had the family.
No, I didn't think he had the family. See, that's what I was thinking. I thought he didn't have it.
Died before Nam. I have written down specifically here that the kid dies before Nam. Now this is in his trip.
Yeah, so it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
So it doesn't matter.
To
But
me, well, I mean,
it just depends on your interpretation of what's going on, you know.
I just didn't know how many people had wives and 3 kids and got drafted to Nam. I mean,
I don't know
that's
either.
just crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy, but I don't know.
Everybody
Yeah,
I
it's
knew was
possible.
drafted were like kids.
Teenagers.
It's always been
Coming out of high school, have go no.
But yeah, I don't know if the kids were real or not. Was it just...
I didn't take it they were.
Okay.
I thought he was holding on to a future
Because in the
possibility.
vision,
That's what I thought.
the kids happened before, and like his vision with his girlfriend is all nightmarish. She says this happened before you went to Nam.
Yeah.
And 2 of his kids were like one of them was a real asshole, right?
One was
And
a
like
cock.
you
yeah.
could tell he totally loved this one kid the most. It was
Yeah.
like the shining star of his whole existence, and then it's the one that dies, right?
Yeah, he's stuck with those 2 fucks.
It's like
That's-
seeing himself as a child.
As a boy,
Yeah.
right? Is he
Yeah.
not letting go of himself? Is that what that is
Well,
there?
Maybe that's not his actual child.
Like his own
But
childhood?
it's not his child. He doesn't have children.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is him seeing an analogy for himself, for like letting him know that he has to let go of that. He has to let go of himself. This is all in one saying. To let go of himself, he has to let go of this child that he's watching die.
Yeah.
And his own child takes him up the stairs.
Yeah.
Like his young self, are you ready to go? Takes him up the stairs. Well, that's that's just one interpretation. That doesn't necessarily mean
Well,
that.
I see it that way. I
Yeah.
see it that he sees himself in that child because the children none of that exists. So I have to say that it's not the fact that he had a wife and children before he went to Vietnam, but he had aspirations or wants, dreams of what you would have.
It's like he's seeing his, like, I felt like in some parts he's like seeing his life flash before his eyes in ways he didn't understand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he
sees his future.
He sees what could be. Like he's gonna come back from Vietnam, and he's gonna be messed up in the head, and he's gonna have all this post-traumatic stress disorder. He's gonna lose his family.
I was like identifying with that immediately. Like everything was really clear. Like as soon as the camp got hit, it was like they obviously were hit with some kind of like gas or some kind of
some agent was they're choking.
Yeah, that was
all
my head hurts.
And then when he came back, it was clear this was a vet with post-traumatic stress syndrome, and he was having fits of paranoia, and it was slowly slipping into madness, which was well done.
Yeah,
it was really well done.
But it showed that, and he was able to like see it, and then his chiropractor is kind of like his guidance counselor. Kind of guides him the way he needs to go to kind of give him clearance. I believe. I don't know.
Chiropractor.
I don't know. Like I don't know how.
His angel.
I guess so.
I guess
that was
his angel.
His angel.
Yeah. He even calls him that.
Yeah,
he's like a fat little cherub.
Those are
attempts to wake up. Different
attempts to live his life. He sees his future.
Let go.
Different paths. Yeah. If I
lose the fear.
We'll lose the fear, but if he
lose the fear and let go.
Live and let go.
Those parts. I mean, at the end.
It starts
Louis
to make
sums it
more
up.
More sense to him.
Yeah, Louis sums it up, and then you have to, let it go. He says a very particular line. If you're holding on, if you're dying and you're holding on, you'll see the demons. You'll see demons chasing you from everywhere, hunting you down, or something like that. But if you make peace with your life, you'll find them to be angels setting you free from the earth. The only part where he ever says that this is a drug that he's on, that he's gotten some psychedelic drug, is after the fact. Like during the start of, when they start flipping out, But you don't know because two of them were like smoking, a couple of them were like smoking weed, and they were the ones that really flipped out first. They were the ones that really, and so when I first watched this film, I'm like, oh, it was something in the grass. And they even say later, it was just bad grass, man. There was something in that grass,
Yeah.
But the only time a guy ever comes forward and says, I made this drug. It's called a ladder. This is what it is, right? Yeah. Is when he's tripped out and dying. So we don't know if that's real. As you watch it, you think that's probably what's happened. But the only time it ever comes to him is when he's in his induced state. Because this is like after Vietnam, his friends have bugged out on him and all that stuff. So I think, yes, it is his ladder, and that's what the Jacob's Ladder is. This is his trip down the ladder, and that's what you're seeing, and you're seeing it as you're dying. And as Chris was like, this is the worst trip you've ever been on, I wonder when they made this film, was that what they were thinking? Like, what's the worst possible trip you could go on, and what would that be like?
Yeah.
But also, it finishes the movie up with the saying that they were said to they give you the idea that the CIA did experiments, or they did experiments on soldiers. I have like the text type afterward. So they were lending it. This is kind of based very loosely off of a true story, or what might have happened had you been on some sort of hallucinogenic drugs.
They tested drugs or something like that.
But yeah, you don't know if it's really in a congruent timeline. How much of this movie is even really real? It's hard to tell.
It's like he tried to fight death, and he was tripping. Maybe, I don't know. It's hard to comprehend.
Well, as far as I understand, all you really know that's real is the part in the beginning when it starts, and then the end where he dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or in between where he's on the helicopter getting to.
Yeah, all those little glimpses. Yeah. The rest of it is all happening in his head, right?
Yeah. After you, pretty much.
But that's where so does his mind just invent that? The whole drug ladder thing? Like he's like, this is how he's coping with what's going on with them all killing each other and stuff as he's, he knows they started feeling sick and weird and stuff. Well, you don't really know. That's just it. You don't know.
No.
That it doesn't, and so you have to guess that you're looking at a glimpse into what it is. Maybe like the struggle between life and death, with angels and demons, or your soul passing on to the next level.
Well, that's what it dealt with, was that the characters were going to hell, and they were all suffering these horrible things, but it's the passing through from dying, I guess. You pass through at that point. And at the end, he goes up, finds his kid, and goes up the stairs, and it's all light, it's all bright, it's all good and happy, like it's heaven.
Yeah, you gotta assume he went to heaven.
Yeah.
Which, you know, at the, I almost think that at the, and this is, of course, who am I, but I almost think that it almost spoon-fed it to you a little much. Like they laid it on pretty thick at the end, and it could have been a little, like, less obvious, you know?
Yeah.
Like, well, I think they could have, I didn't think they have to smack you over the head with it there, and I thought it was a little heavy-handed, but I've always loved this movie. So I've loved it, but didn't want to watch it because there's just certain things about this film. This time, watching it the fourth time, it didn't affect me as much, but I'm, you know, really analyzing it. I'm not necessarily taking it the way I did when I first watched the film. But there's this, I think this is the first film, and I don't know if it is the first film, but it's the first film I ever saw the shaky head thing where you have guys moving their heads real fast, and that's been played out in a lot of other horror films. But this was the first one I ever saw it in, where it's just like this disturbing. Who's the guy with the beard, like sitting in the doorway, you know what I mean? You see him like shaking his head and stuff like that, and then he's like, the other guys have creepy faces that are like without their eyes, or they're like white and weird mouthed, and you know, but this guy is just like, he just looks like this not a very nice guy with like a goatee and a beard and like long hair, and then he starts shaking his face all weird. Yeah. It's like drinking a beer. I don't know if that's like the devil sitting outside the room watching him, if it's like but this guy is shown, I think, a couple times in the movie, and I don't know who else he is, like where else he was, is he no other relation to the story, right? He just
kind of shows up.
But instead of being like the faceless, ghouly looking things, he looks like a guy that has intent, you know?
Yeah.
Like the government guys have intent. You don't know if they're government. They're like mafia/government. The guys.
Sleazeballs. New York sleazeballs.
Pick him up. Put him around. Throw him out. Fucking, well, he jumps out and jacks up his back because they're going to shoot him in the back of a car.
Some good side effects.
So is his girlfriend evil? Like that girlfriend thing?
It seemed like it. Yeah.
Like she was a demon just trying to keep him around, right? Or was she helping him let go of those things? Like, get over it. Get over the past.
Like, she burns the photos. Like, she's just bad.
She's Jezebel.
Yeah.
Like, that's just... I think it's pretty descriptive just in the name. This thing is almost like the scarlet letter in the way that certain things are named, you know? The teeth coming out of the top of that woman's head were super creepy. The nurse, nurse. It just puts you in such uncomfortable situations in this movie. It is made.
It just lets you know things aren't right.
It was weird at the start of the film how they just like kind of hit you a ton of bricks. You think like, okay, they're gonna start out, they're gonna play out this guy's death, they're gonna play out the professor's character in some way. You know what I mean? As far as like showing what's going on, and they just cut. They get stabbed. He has this look on his face of like bewilderment, like he doesn't understand what's happening to him. Like, what who is this guy? And you keep thinking to yourself, who is it? What is it? You know what I mean? You see like the creature or something like that, or like is it some kind of alien species? Is it this, that? And it ties it back into like it's another. Wow, I mean, how many times do people maybe in real life experience that?
Oh yeah, after he killed him, he realized what he just did.
What the fuck?
Yeah, like the rage was to kill, and then as soon as the killing was done,
he was like, what the fuck? Yeah.
Recognized immediately.
Well, you gotta be one. He probably plunged back into stuff. I mean, if he's tripping.
And there's also the thing that like they incorporate, because they're American troops in Vietnam and they've been tested on with chemical weapons, basically. Then when they get back to the States, it feels like a conspiracy going on when these people with no faces chasing them and coming after them. And it's like it's a government cover-up at first.
Yeah.
And then as soon as his friend comes to him and speaks, he's taken out. It seems like the car blows up, like a typical, assassination. And then this guy like pulls him away and just walks off. He's been following him this whole time. Who's supposedly the guy that comes to him later to tell him that it was him that was doing
the experiment.
Did the experiment.
Made the ladder.
Right.
Yeah, he got arrested for creating LSD, and he was in the pen. They let him out.
2 years in Vietnam.
2 years in
They
Vietnam.
dropped the charges.
Three charges.
And so
Like
he
the
did
4-star generals or whatever.
Yeah, he said I've been locked up 13 hours. Vietnam had to be better than that. And I would probably agree with him because lockup's not cool, right?
Yeah, no way, Jose.
Conspiracy, like.
Yeah.
We know the government used Agent Orange
Yeah.
on Vietnam.
That was created by Monsanto, by the way.
Oh yeah, that's right. Their name comes up a lot. Like
It
I
does,
was
doesn't
reading
it?
about all these people marching on them. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy great.
Yeah, it's great.
People gotta know.
I mean, it's like they talk about like Agent Orange and stuff like that. Well, I mean, what if Agent Orange was just us testing shit on?
How much do you know about Agent Orange?
It's a defoliant. They sprayed it all over Vietnam to make the Viet Cong more visible. So it would just kill off the jungle and everything.
But I could see where this movie is like
An analogy.
for like Agent Orange in a way. It was like
Yeah, in a way, I think, they were
not
talking about the
necessarily.
psychological
Yeah, I
experiments.
know.
They did like the liquid Kool-Aid test on buses and stuff where they like, back around the Vietnam era, and I think even before that, the government was experimenting with LSD on soldiers and on civilians and stuff. I thought there were all these clinical studies about LSD and the effects of it. They were trying to make a super soldier with it.
It's shown.
Now the guy that comes and talks to him and tells him about what he did,
Yeah.
we don't really know. I mean, you don't have to believe it's that guy that did it, but it's just some form of something trying to tell him
Tell
the
them
truth.
what's going
Yeah.
on. Well, if we're talking about
Right.
angels and demons,
Right.
and going to an afterlife, all sorts of possibilities open up on how you could be spoken to about the reality of your situation.
Right.
He doesn't have to know for the afterlife to know and be able to communicate that to him in some way. I think I watched the film, and I'm assuming since it's called Jacob's Ladder, and they start talking about this drug called the ladder and stuff, that this was his trip that you just experienced. From like beginning, or right before it happens, like right after he dosed,
Yeah.
and all the way to when he dies. And that all happened in that short amount of time.
And he just sat there. And,
You rode his ladder. And so,
yeah,
so I guess I gotta assume that in some way the cosmos is either telling him that. I mean, because he believes in angels and demons, obviously. And Louis is very much an angel, and we assume it's all going on in his head.
Well,
And
that's
it's
the
drug
thing. If you
induced.
believe it, and you
Then it
believe
becomes
But
real.
my character wouldn't go through that kind of a thing, right? Because I don't believe in that shit.
Yeah,
So-
your character would.
Okay. Right.
yeah, I wouldn't
That's
go the
cool.
same
Who
direction.
That's
knows?
cool.
Who knows what your character would go
Right.
through?
Exactly.
We don't know.
I could write it.
Yeah.
You
Try
could.
it.
You could, yeah.
You guys got a bunch of LSD.
But I don't know. I don't know.
I know a guy.
But I don't know if
Idea.
the movie really wants you to believe that, or if the movie really wants you to believe that the demons and the angels are real, and that this is his interpretation of that.
Of how, well, maybe it's what he feels are his struggles. His struggle to get to heaven would be getting over his son's death, and his struggle to get to hell or to be in hell is his infatuation or lust for another woman, and he abandons his family because he doesn't see his family when he's with this other woman. You notice that? Anytime that it comes to this demon or this woman that you all
Yeah.
are referencing, he never
It's like-
talks about the family, and she always puts him down like, don't think about that. I don't like things that make you cry. I burnt your photos. He's repressing all those feelings towards his family. And then the times that he's coming over here, it's talking with his wife. His wife and kids come to see him in the hospital.
And it's
all
all
these
about
times.
love.
All about love. All
Right.
about like the things that he wants,
it's good.
but the demons that like
Yeah.
take him away. If you notice that, it's always this balancing act throughout the whole film.
Yeah. But
And
what,
then when
what
the
do
balance,
do they symbolize anything more than just good and evil?
maybe.
Well,
Well, it's
why
your
not?
desires. Maybe your wants. Maybe
Is there a
what's
difference?
good for you and what your wants are and what your desires are on the other hand. But I feel like they go hand in hand if you know the balance. You have to balance both.
But I think the filmmaker didn't really state what was whether on that. So
Because
I
it's
think
up to your
a question.
interpretation.
Yeah,
It's your,
it's
the
up
movie's
to
up to your interpretation.
And that's
really
what we're
did.
interpreting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. Good looking out. But yeah, I think that's important to make a point of
Yeah,
that.
I like
that.
films like this though, because they make you think. That's a good thing. And I enjoyed it. Like I said, I enjoyed it. I look forward to seeing it again and thinking about it in the coming days.
Well, Jacob's Ladder, guys. I give it 2 thumbs up.
I give it a 3. I said it was
3?
really good.
Yeah. Dave?
Yeah, I
You
think it was a really good film.
Yeah, I think it's,
I would recommend this film.
I would.
I think I have recommended it.
that's why we ended up
In a
watching it.
weird, strange
So yeah,
kind
you
of way.
recommended it and you picked it. That's what
Yes.
happened. It's your pick.
Dave, your pick next week.
I said it earlier, Pumpkinhead.
Pumpkinhead it
I'm
is.
sticking with Pumpkinhead.
Check back with us next week. Pumpkinhead it is. Oh, this week.
This
Shit.
week we gotta do 2 of them.
Oh man, this week. Check back this week.